Tiger fans, what's going on, guys? So let me apologize right off the rip if my voice sounds a little bit hoarse. And I stumble a little bit. I'm getting over the flu or some kind of sickness, so I'm not feeling the best today. But it has been quite a while since I've been on here and talked about some of the things that's going on with the Tigers and some of the things that's going on with spring training. Mike and I did do a baseball banter a couple last week, and I did touch on the Tigers and that. But I know when I do those live streams, for some weird reason, they don't get as many views if I just straight up upload. So I feel like a lot of you guys might have missed what I had said in that video about what was going on. Excuse me. So since the last time I've been on here, my brother and I did a video about the Colt Keith extension. That was on a live stream. I really don't need to reiterate too much of my thoughts on that because I feel like a lot of you guys watched that video, but obviously a solid move. They feel like Keith is the future at second base. The kid can hit. I was listening to the game the other day, and Dan and Craig Monroe were on the call on the radio side, and Willie Horton was on the radio, and they asked Willie Horton what he thought of Colt Keith, and he was like, "Woo, man, that boy is the truth." So, when you have praise from somebody like, Willie Horton, and Alan Trammell has said nothing but good things about him. He knows how the organization feels. I mean, it was a great signing. And then after that, the next biggest thing to go on was the Tigers had signed Gio Urshela. And that's what kind of ties all this into what's going on with spring training. So the team has been playing spring training games for the last couple of weeks now. Now, the addition of Gio Urshela was only a couple days into spring training games, and I originally thought that it wasn't going to really affect Justin Henry Malloy because, Scott Harris and AJ Hinch both said they were going to give him a chance to compete out of camp for a spot. But, excuse me, I think this might spell the end for Akil Baddoo. Because now that they're going to put, I think they wanted another infielder who is actually like a legitimate infielder who could play multiple spots. Urshela has come out and said he could play all four infield spots wherever they need him to play. He has played, I believe, all four infield spots in the past. So I think they really wanted another legitimate infielder to go be able to pair at second and third because that's going to be kind of revolving door because you don't know what kind of defense every single day you're going to get out of Keith. You don't know, what days you're going to want to rotate to give certain guys days off. Also, I don't think they thought they could rely on the combination of McKinstry, Ibanez, and Vierling to play defense at third base all year because you remember last year when they traded Nick Maton there, that was, an absolute disaster. Defensively, he was extremely suspect at that spot. A lot of balls going under, made a lot of errors. And, Vierling, although he played a good third base, and Ibanez, he played a good second base last year, and so did McKinstry. I think, they wanted to be able to put Vierling back in the outfield some, which to me spells the end for Akil Baddoo and puts what Justin Henry Malloy having a chance to make it on the big league roster on opening day up in the air. Now, mind you, these guys have less than 30 spring training at bats, which is, like 6 games worth of at bats, having, 4 at bats every single time. Excuse me. And so looking at some of their numbers overall, it's kind of hard to judge and say, that's what they're going to be, especially considering spring training. Now, Justin Henry Malloy has had a terrible spring thus far. He opened up spring, he had a home run, and he was hitting pretty okay right off the rip, but I think he's hitting almost under 200. Colt Keith, really, he's shown some good at bats. He's had a couple. He's really shown why he's going to be a good hitter. Having some hits the other way, being able to take the ball the other way for extra base power, which is huge. But he's been striking out a little bit already so far in the spring, which is expected because when he made the leap from AA to AAA, there was that adjustment period as well where he came up in Toledo and he had struggled. And then after a couple of weeks, he got adjusted to that competition and he raked. For him to start seeing all this major league pitching, right off the rip, him struggling and even Justin Malloy struggling is not of a surprise, and more ABs, is what it's going to take. Now, I think with Matt Vierling coming out in the outfield, Akil Baddoo doesn't have a spot because, the Tigers took care of their issue of having way too many left-handed hitting bats, particularly outfielders. Now, being able to rotate Matt Vierling from third to outfield on certain days and being able to rotate Urshela to accommodate for that, because there could be certain days where you want more right-handed hitters in the lineup and you bump Urshela to second and Vierling, or you bump Vierling to second and leave Urshela at third, or however, the Tigers feel those guys grade out defensively better, and you can make, Colt Keith sits that day, or he DHs, depending on it. Or there's days where, they're going to have Urshela at third and Colt Keith at second, and then Matt Vierling out in left or right field, which spot Riley Green doesn't play. So, there's just really nowhere for Akil Baddoo, who hasn't been productive in the last 2 years, to really play. And now that Justin Malloy, they told him that listen, guy, you're solely an outfielder now, and we don't want you to play third anymore. To have the one thing about the Tigers now, and I think baseball in general over the last few years, is positional versatility. If you're not a superstar player, but even some superstar players, look at Mookie Betts, Gold Glove right fielder, and now he's going to be the starting shortstop for the Dodgers because Gavin Lux can't throw. But positional versatility, if you're not an everyday regular, finding spots for where you can get the most at bats because of your defensive versatility is huge. And having someone like Malloy, who, he's got a damn good eye, and he would have been third in the MLB in walks if he was in the big leagues last year, and he can hit for sure, and he's got power. But the Tigers don't want to bring up a guy who's 24 and is pretty much, you could only safely put him in the DH spot because you don't believe in his glove anywhere else. Now, maybe, just maybe, giving him more opportunities to play solely in the outfield now that they're not going to try to have him at third and the outfield. Now he's just going to be straight playing the outfield. Maybe it'd be like a Kerry Carpenter situation where Kerry Carpenter, when he first came up, wasn't known for being a good outfielder and was very slow. But now, now that he's been in the big leagues for a while, he's improved greatly at the outfield. He's become almost an average defender, and he actually has way more speed than people were giving him credit for if you look at sprint speed metrics, and he actually has a very good arm out in the outfield. So, such could be the case for Justin Malloy with more regular reps solely out in the outfield. And I also think it does him no good, as much as I want him on the team, because I want to see this guy every single day. I believe in the bat, I believe in the power, I believe in the eye. But at the same time, with how the roster is constructed and this team not being a bottom of the barrel team anymore, where you actually have expectations, you can't bring up somebody that's going to be a full-time DH. And you can't go, when somebody is still in development, you can't go and take a guy who is getting everyday reps down in Toledo to where he's playing 3 times a week, because that's not good for development either. So, I really don't know how that's going to work its way out. There's still a few weeks left to the start of the season, but we shall see. So, but Gio Urshela, I think, I don't see a way that Akil Baddoo makes his team. They have enough left-handed hitting outfielders. They have they actually have some right-handed hitting outfielders. They kind of fix that balance issue. So I don't see how he makes it. So, anyways, moving on, we'll talk about other aspects of the team. Joey Wentz is looking like he may make the team as a bullpen arm, but I don't know if that's going to happen because they have Chafin and Holton. I really don't see the need for another lefty in that bullpen. Lang and Foley are going out and doing their thing. Shelby Miller has looked pretty okay so far coming out. Casey Mize has made, I think, 4 starts now. His starts have been a little sporadic, which is to be expected for a guy that's coming back after missing almost 2 years of throwing off of an MLB mound against professional hitters. But the velocity is up. He's hit as high as 98. The off-speed stuff has looked really good. So, you know, he needs more time. And I think it's kind of crazy that people are going, he's battling for a 5th spot in the rotation and trying not to start the year in Toledo. But I don't see how putting him in Toledo helps him much, because this is a guy that's pitched at the big league level for a few years. And I think him facing big league hitters and as important as he was to Tigers rotation. I mean, a lot of people don't remember, you know, when Casey Mize first came up. Go watch some old Casey Mize strikeout videos. The guy was filthy. Like, there was a reason why this guy was a #1 draft pick. Like, he's really good. You know, he's coming back off of TJ. You know, the results have been a little up and down so far, but he needs to face hitters. He needs to pitch innings. He needs to build up. And I don't see why people keep saying that he's battling for a 5th spot or he's going to be in Toledo. I think he's already made the rotation. I don't see a world in where they don't have Casey Mize in the rotation. I think, if anything, you know, it's going to be, you know, either Reese Olson or Sawyer Gipson-Long getting sent back down for, you know, the 5 guys going to be in there, which would be Maeda, Flaherty, Manning, Skubal, Mize. I think is good at what it's going to end up going to be your opening day rotation. But the nice thing is they actually have some legitimate starting depth, because Sawyer Gipson-Long did look good last year. You know, I think he kind of got a little bit lucky with some of the results. You know, if you go back and watch some of those games and watch some of the contact against him, you know, it was a lot of Adam balls. But, you know, he's a legitimate option. You go and look at what Reese Olson did his last, like, 35 or 40 innings. He was absolutely dominant, and he's a really good pitcher. But the way Matt Manning has looked in spring so far, which is he's maintaining his velocity, he's coming out throwing hard from the first pitch, which is something that the Tigers have been harping on him for the last couple of years. It's like, hey, you know, you come out and then you let off the gas pedal, and then your fastball becomes hittable, because his fastball has elite spin rate, which creates ride, and which creates swings and misses. And, you know, you see last year, you know, Matt Manning, he doesn't generate a whole boatload of strikeouts, which is weird, because he was a big strikeout pitcher in the minors, but he's never been a big strikeout pitcher in the big leagues. But I think if the Tigers could ever get this guy, you know, to trust his fastball and work off the fastball instead of trying to get cute with his curveball and slider, I mean, we've seen it in spring training so far. The stuff is legit, and he has the stuff there to throw how he's been throwing in spring to be a competent 4th or 5th starter. Now, Kenta Maeda, for some reason, the Tigers really haven't had a boatload of televised games. And it seems like this last week that some of their spring training games have been kind of hit or miss on the radio, to where there hasn't been that much stuff. I want to comment on Bally real quick, getting Jason Benetti. I usually think Craig Monroe is a terrible broadcaster, but listening to him with Jason Benetti, he was actually really good. It just goes to show you how bad Matt Shepard held that booth down. As terrible of a play-by-play guy as he was, you put Jason Benetti in there, and he is so good at calling a ball game, and he is so good at how he sets whoever his color guy is up with him, and his personality just shines. The booth just flows so great. You could actually tell it's a couple guys having a good time. And I think, you know, Craig Monroe was talking about how he's extremely excited to have him. So I don't think Matt Shepard was that well liked by some of them guys there, but anyways, the Tigers really haven't been broadcasted that much so far in spring, so I've only got to watch it, but I did get to watch my last Maeda start, which I want to say was against the Yankees. And Maeda got hit up a little bit. He did give up a home run. His velocity is a little down so far in spring. But you got a guy in his mid-30s. You got a guy that's never lit up the radar gun much anyways. You got a guy that's more of a touch and feel dude who's really good at locating and has a good split in a slider. So I'm not too worried about his results. And Jack Flaherty so far, he has looked great. Absolutely come out pitching the ball well. He's looked really good so far in spring. The biggest thing is will he be able to maintain it and not get hurt? Now, the nice thing is about this Tigers team versus Tigers team of past, where we got someone like Reese Olson and Sawyer Gipson waiting in the wings. So when ultimately Matt Manning gets hit in the foot again with a comebacker and he's gone for 6 weeks, you know, they got people waiting in the wings. Tarik Skubal has come out. He was the pitcher on the first Bally broadcast, and man, does his stuff look good. He had a couple of at-bats where he started a guy off with a first pitch fastball, and the guy was trying to get on it, so he was out in front and ripped it foul. And then Skubal threw him a slider that he swung over the top of, threw him a fastball up and in, he fouled it off, and then threw him a changeup. And this guy looked horrible. The swings off of him, oh my goodness. So he's Skubal, man, we just need this guy to throw 150 innings. Need him to make 27, 26 starts. He's going to be legit, man. Like, he could be a potential Cy Young. He's got that frontline stuff. He is such a stud pitcher. So, anyways, not to make this video 25 minutes long, I just wanted to come on here and touch on a few things that had happened with the Tigers since I made my last video. Talk about some of the things that are going on in spring. Talk about some of the position battles and whatnot. So, that's all I got for you guys today. I'll be back sometime in the next couple weeks to do a season preview video for the Tigers. So, have a good one. Go Tigers.